Welcome to Overthrow Media, your best place for politics, hip-hop, and life. It's Big Villainous, your comrade revolutionary, dope-ass MC, and international sex symbol. Yeah, baby. I'm in the ATL right now, and we about to, go to this action and build, man. I checked into Airbnb last night, caught some Z's, and now I'm about to head off to the park to meet with everybody who's trying to stop the precinct from being built, or actually the training facility. Like the forest protectors protecting the forest right now, and we about to head down there, you know what I mean?
All money is blood money. Cotton picking president's hand bloody.
Flash. Now I'm in the future with a new haircut. As I start my day, after I leave the Airbnb, I head down to Entrenchment Park, where they're having a lot of events going on. They're having different workshops and conversations happening about how different parts of the system affect our people. From talking about environmental racism and how that impacts those in Black and brown and indigenous communities, the same communities that these police harass and terrorize. Another about how environmental impacts affect everybody. I also met some interesting communists out there that were out there organizing and hosting events. Now, this is the second day I'm there. This is Saturday. The first day I came in late, so I just went to sleep, right? After all those workshops, we had a protest starting at Freedom Park in Atlanta. And honestly, it was a pretty chill, family-friendly type vibe. People had branches and things like that they carried around to represent the forest. And one of the things that they did is they picked something that was invasive so that when they planted it or laid it down, it would inherently grow and grow new trees. But we marched a couple miles for a couple hours, walked around in circles pretty much, just kind of giving out flyers, let people know what's going on, how Cop City is trying to chop down the woods, chop down all this forest to build a training center that they really don't need. They already have one in the area that locals were already against. They had to petition the police to not let off explosives at 8 in the morning. I was actually talking to a lady whose child was being triggered by this first thing in the morning, right? As the march is going on, we're informing folks on the situation. Well, we started to get to the point where we're about to wrap up, right? We started heading to another park, I don't know what this park was called, and start to disband. And then the police started to surround the park. And that's when they actually end up tackling the drummer. That's when I started live streaming the events where after they tackled the drummer, they were arresting them to make sure that, of course, all their rights were being respected, which of course they're not, because the police don't ever respect your rights or the law. Well, as you see in the live, the officer immediately gets aggressive with me, especially when I'm asserting rights. And I told him, and exercise my freedom of speech, I told him to fuck off because he was abusing his power clear as day. When I told him to fuck off, he decided to put his hands on me and push me. So I keep recording, letting people know on the live stream that he has violated my rights and assaulted me. After which he went ahead and arrested me.
Fuck you. See this pig right here is assaulting me? Fuck you. Fuck you. What's your name? What's your name, Fawn? JD. All right, see this pig just sweat. Hey, make sure y'all share all this. Fuck off.
At that time, they had detained like 18 of us. They took 15 of us down to jail and let 12 of us go, keeping 3 of us, including myself, overnight. So the 3 of us, they didn't actually change us out because apparently they don't do it in that place, that institution, until after you're gonna stay for sure for a longer time. But they took us upstairs, and I really couldn't sleep all night. It was really uncomfortable, same old shit, bad mat, all lumpy and stuff, no pillow. Actually, there was a pillow in there, but they came in and took it from me before I could utilize it. So then we go to court, went out for a couple hours, and then we finally go in, and then we all get signature bond, which pretty much is like personal recognizance. They'll just let you go and you sign your way out. You don't have to bail out or nothing. So it took till about 3 before them to release us. I appreciate all the love that people had shown. I saw afterwards that people were like tripping out and showing hella love and like being like free BP. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. There was some dope organizers that were waiting outside for us to get released and had pizza and everything waiting, which was super fire. So at that point, I had to actually extend the Airbnb that I was staying at because there was no way I was gonna be able to leave before court. I had arraignment on that Wednesday. But while I was waiting, I made sure to connect with different folks like FD Signifier, as well as everybody who was defending the forest in Entrenchment Park. I was having different conversations with different people about how they got here and how dedicated they were was very clear to me. Folks weren't willing to leave until they were being drug out or they protected the forest from the cop intrusion. So you want to tell us about why we're here in outside this jail right now?
Yeah, a bunch of us are waiting for our friends to get out. 8 people were arrested 2 days ago and haven't yet been released from the parking lot of a public park and charged with numerous things, including criminal trespass. At this point, the police department is just getting desperate and lashing out at people that are, supporting the preservation of the forest and opposing the cop city that's trying to get built on the other side of the river. Organizing has been going on for several years. People have been occupying the forest in opposition to Cop City and development of that land for more or less a year now. It's a really beautiful place. It's helping to fight climate change, and the idea is to bulldoze that woods, for some of it to create a police militarization facility where they're going to be training how to do riot control techniques in a mock city inside classrooms. And then the other idea is to cut it down and build a movie studio, and that's on the other side of the proposed Cop City.
So then they're pretty much trying to split what's left of the forest between the cops and Hollywood?
Yeah, that's the idea.
So what about it made you specifically feel like it was important to be out here fighting it?
Well, I think one of the things that's so important about this particular struggle is that it incorporates a lot of different issues that are really important to me personally, and I think really important for humanity. And those include, again, like the militarization of the police, the use of police to control and suppress people, the destruction of the environment, especially in the case of climate change, but I just think in general, the right that humans have to destroy things is something that people take for granted, and I don't think that's right. And then the third thing is the idea that that private ownership of land can take precedence over the public space that everyone should have access to. Again, people use this park to walk their dogs, to hang out with their kids, and the idea that one person can take that land and in a shady deal decide that they own it, instead of the public, and make money off of it for private profit, that's just wrong. There was a really widespread public opposition to the movement. I think this city council sat through 16 hours of people expressing their opposition, and the city council then voted it through anyway. The Week of Action brought in tons of people from many different places and wanting to participate in the movement on a variety of levels. People stayed in the forest and participated in a lot of activities. There were several marches and I think just like public demos, as well as lots of activities in the woods, like helping people connect to nature and spend time in nature, I think is also an important part of this movement. But equally important, if not more important, is making sure that the government of Atlanta knows that people are not okay with the increasing militarization of the police force. There are a lot of folks here who are planning to stay until the forest is safe and there's no threat anymore. We'll stay as long as it takes.
So what's going on here?
Well, we're here to stop Cop City, and we're in the middle of the forest they're trying to tear down so they can, shoot at shit and blow shit up and train to be fascists. So we're trying to stop them from doing so.
You confronted the cops, 3 days ago? You went to jail, and then what's the story? Tell the story.
Well, I went to jail, and basically they arrested me on some bullshit because I was videotaping them, as everybody probably saw, and, well, they ended up, when we go to court today, they had to dismiss everything for a lack of evidence, so, yeah.
So, fuck 12?
Fuck 12 every day, all day. Hey, Cap. Not only are the cops going after it, but it's also Hollywood, to be clear, because half of it, through these 300 acres, is going to go to the police, and half of it is going to go to Hollywood. Which seems really clear to me that in a time where we're suffering from climate change and cut down too many trees already, that we should not be trying to cut down trees for fascists in Hollywood. That's like two groups that don't need that. Instead, we should be preserving those trees. In fact, destroying some of their buildings to be able to reforest. Because we're in a climate crisis right now when trees would really help us. Not to mention the amount of pollution that's gonna be put in the air by the police. Cutting out all those trees, building up all that infrastructure. Psst, man, you already know what time it is. They're not really caring about the well-being of the planet or anybody else but their own pockets. There's a shit ton of people out there putting their neck on the line to fight this police state. One thing I want to emphasize is the police state is not just in Atlanta, it's all over. And this situation affects all of us. By showing up and supporting them, we can show that we are deserving of their support when we're combating our police precincts, our police bunkers, our prisons that they're trying to build. By showing up and showing solidarity, we can show we're solidarity in return. And I'm sure folks will show up to have our backs when we're fighting police precincts, police bunkers, and prisons. We gotta see the interconnection because tearing down ecosystems affects everybody. Building training institutions for fascist organizations like the police affects everybody. That being said, I wanna say, I'm not the only one that got arrested. Neither are the folks who got arrested with me. In fact, folks caught heavier charges a couple days later when they were trying to defend the forest and got snagged up by the police and took into a different jail within Atlanta. We sat outside and we waited for them for many hours, and then they finally released, thank goodness, after them having to get bailed out. But the struggle is not to end by any means, it's just beginning. And we're gonna have to take a stance, in my opinion, and hopefully show solidarity with those standing out there. Now, some critiques I have is this. The message need to be focused more against the police to attract more black folks and lumber folks that are affected by the police. And I'm not saying they lacking in any way what the organizers are doing, they just have some things that they could add on to it. I have seen a lot of energy from folks there, making sure they can be inclusive of folks who are affected in the struggle. There's also a POC travel fund that helps with folks who come out and organize, as well as bail funds if you get arrested. Now, don't get arrested on purpose, I do emphasize. Make sure that you're doing things that are having impacts, and if you happen to get arrested, you happen to get arrested. I must say it's extremely important that we focus on having campaigns like this, that we show up in solidarity. So not only was I struggling, but like I said, I met up with FD Signifier. I met up with EJ. I took EJ to peep out the forest and
compete. Atlanta's known for the beautiful trees and the forest land that's still preserved despite it being a major city. The fact that the city and the state want to eradicate such a large and beautiful asset for the community against the wishes of the members of that community so that they could build a sound stage, a Hollywood sound stage, and a police training facility, I find just, egregious. I'm really glad that the people of Atlanta are standing up to resist this unnecessary construction. The police have been harassing the demonstrators and arresting them on frivolous charges like BP. What I've learned from the locals in Atlanta is that is a tactic that the cops use all the time to basically harass and annoy people into basically giving up. I heard that that's actually a tactic that they use to try to get local folks, especially the black community in Atlanta, to get out of some of the more gentrified areas. We went on a tour with FD Signifier, who explained to us the ways in which the police will use city ordinances and other BS trumped up charges to basically arrest people, throw them in jail for the night, even if they've really done nothing wrong. And that's a tactic to keep people from standing up and, in this situation with the folks trying to save that forest, to just make them stand down. Solidarity with our comrades who are fighting the good fight to save that forest. And if you're anywhere near Atlanta, I hope you'll show up and support them. Hampton's raring to go. He wants to break out and go help protect Atlanta, but unfortunately, I think you gotta stay here, buddy. So yeah, if you're anywhere near Atlanta, if you know folks in Atlanta, please signal boost this. Unfortunately, the story's not getting out. If you could show up and support the folks who are in the woods, reach out, get in touch, and do what you can. This is a really important thing. Remember, these police training facilities, they're not just going to be used in Atlanta. Wherever you are, if you live in the USA, cops in your town are likely to at some point go and do training at that facility. The only way to oppose the police state is to stand against it every time they try to take a step forward. We have to stop them, hold them, and push them back. So I'm really glad to see people standing up. I'm really glad to see people fighting this really important fight and protecting our really important wildlife. You know, global climate change is coming. We need all the trees we can get. And again, Atlanta is a beautiful city, and what makes it stand out are those trees. So it stands to reason to me they need that forest land a lot more than they need some cop training facilities.
But the struggle isn't over, and my story isn't the whole story. So I encourage those who are seeing this, who are watching this, all my viewers, to take the time out if you can to go and show support, to go build on the ground, because on the ground is the only way that we actually find liberation. Might have a little swag and look a little famous. Well, not really, I'm not famous, but you know what I mean. Maybe I help push you a little more radical. Maybe I help you take a decolonial stance. But in the end of the day, we must act first and foremost. Shout out to everybody at the Forest Defense fighting these fascists right now. Shout out to everybody organizing on the ground across the nation and globe. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can stay notified. There will be links in the description to the website of those on the front lines fighting to protect the forest in Atlanta, fighting against the police. Also, in the description will be my GoFundMe if you want to support me continuing to travel around and also upping my equipment. We out here trying to build, and we really mean it because we revolutionaries, you feel me? Follow me at villainous_music on all the socials, especially Patreon. Yeah, support me on Patreon. Man, it keeps the motherfucking lights on. That's what it look like without it. As well as cop my CD, The House of Usher, out now. And you know what time it is. It's time to resist, and we out. Catch you in the next one.
Walking through the crease and the cracks of the streets, struggling for some food and a bed to sleep, while trying to cause overthrow. I'm feeling weak, ideology buff.